Hi, welcome to the Sweet Slumber Podcast, the good, the bad, and the sleep deprived. I am your host, Meredith Bruff. I'm a wife, a mother of 5, a childcare expert, and a sleep coach. I'm here to teach you the most effective sleep advice for infants and young children. With my guidance, sleep will become something that you look forward to again, and you will feel rested. I believe that motherhood is the most important and demanding role that we have, but the challenges and accomplishments that go along with it go unnoticed frequently. We are going to talk openly about these things so that we can draw strength and compassion from each other. I will share my perspective as a seasoned mother and help you experience more fulfillment.
Hello, thank you for listening to the Sweet Slumber Podcast. Today, I'm excited to be sharing my friend with you, friend and past client, Amanda Sardinas. She is a full-time mama of a 2-year-old girl named Hannah. And we're talking today because this is an awesome mom that I want to share with you. And I want to share some of the lessons that she's learned and her philosophy on parenting, because it's so uplifting and inspiring. Amanda, say hello. Thanks for being here.
Hello, thank you for having me. True pleasure and honor. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm sure I kind of embarrassed you, but
I'm blushing.
like, yeah, hey, let's show that off. It's cute. But yes, I think the world of Amanda, and I've wanted to interview her for a long time. How long have we known each other? It's been like a year and a half?
It's a good year and a half now. Yeah.
Very good. Well, we started out as a sleep coach client type of relationship, and it didn't take us long to become good friends. And
right off the bat.
yeah, and she lives all the way in Florida and I'm in Iowa, but we try to stay in touch. She does her part, I do mine. It works well, right? Take turns. Oh, and I forgot to say that you are expecting number 2. Woohoo!
We are 2 more months. Yay.
And we know what you're having. Is this something you're sharing?
A little boy. Yeah, this is his room. So
Aw, cute.
Yeah.
It looks really nice.
Thank
2
you.
more months. Can't even tell by your face or your upper body that you're pregnant. You want to show us your belly?
You are too kind. We have a little bit.
Oh, you're adorable. That's cute.
Oh my goodness, made my day. Thank you.
I like hair is so wide and big, so whenever I see a cute little basketball, I'm so jealous. Even if you think it's a big basketball, whatever, same thing. It's a nice size, nice shape. All right, so another reason we're here, not just so I can show her off and uplift you guys, but Hannah is spirited and sensitive.
Absolutely.
Would you like lean towards one or the other? She's pretty equal on both types of temperament.
She's really equal. She's very strong on both. So
Okay.
she has a lot of the sensitive moments and a lot of spirited moments and a lot of combined moments. So she's got her beautiful strong moments.
That's one great way to put it. Well, and so it's not like I'm not saying, oh, she's half spirited, half sensitive. Amanda hit the jackpot. It's more that we're talking about this because that's challenging. That's really tough in some ways.
It was unexpected. So being a first-time mama, even though I was older mama, I had no idea, and it was a big surprise for me because that saying that sleep like a baby, I really thought baby slept, and I really didn't think anything of it until our baby didn't sleep. And so when we brought her home from the hospital, by day 9, I'm like, what's going on? Because she didn't sleep. And what was it? She had an undiagnosed reflux, but it was like a really strong reflux. I don't know what the medical term is, but she needed medicine for it. It was that strong. And they didn't diagnose her with that until 3 months old. When I called one day, I said, look, I understand that babies need sleep and she cries all the time. And I understand it could be colic, but the baby's not sleeping. At this point, I'm worried about her neurological development because she's just not sleeping. And that's when the doctor's like, oh, well, it's probably reflux. And so we got her comfortable with her reflux. And then after that, I kept saying, okay, let's give her time. Let's give her time. And I remember being online one night, I don't remember what hour it was, and someone had recommended you in a Facebook mama group. And I reached out to you the next day, and I am forever grateful that God put you in our path, because you helped us so much. By 6 months old, you really helped Hannah to turn that corner that she needed to turn because mama needed sleep.
Yeah, well, tell us a little bit about your parenting style, because you could have turned to anyone, right? What was it that made you turn to me? And you know what I mean? Like, tell us about what was important to you.
Absolutely, thank you. So I really did not want to do cry out or anything near of a cry it out method. I did not want to force her to be alone and figure it out per se. And that I felt very strongly about. Even my husband would try and take her and just be with her in a room and say, you know what, maybe Amanda, you being with her so much, maybe that's causing her to be excited. And I couldn't even take the crying outside of the room, knowing she was well cared for. What I really cherished about your technique is how gentle it is, and how you're all about that love and trust and security of bringing the child closer to the parent and helping reassure the child that mama and pa are still there, and it is okay for you to close your eyes, and it is okay for you to be in this setting in a crib or wherever it is that you are at, because you are safe. And for Hannah, teaching her those lessons and the way that you helped us to teach her, it really helped her to feel more comfortable. And I remember even thinking when she was just a couple weeks old, again, first time mom, I had no clue about anything. I still don't, but I really just was shot in the dark, like what's going on. I had this feeling like she felt unsafe. She's not secure. And I didn't know how to help her realize, I'm here, my love. And you really helped me help her realize that. So I hope I answered your question, but really to help her be more comfortable to sleep.
Yeah.
In a gentle way.
Go ahead.
No, that's what really, when I saw what you on your website, what you were offering and saying that it was all about the techniques, I'm like, oh, this is. And then when we talked the next day, I got off the phone and I told my husband, she's it. That I don't want to talk to anyone else. We gotta go with Miss Meredith.
I love it. That's so cute. So I know that wasn't the end of the road for you or anything. Like, I'm pretty clear with people, is like, I'm going to help you strengthen sleep, and I'm going to give you tools to keep strengthening sleep, but it's not going to be perfect. And I do remember maybe just a couple months later, maybe a few, where you guys were struggling again, and you listened to your mom instincts and you came up with some new solutions. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Anything to do with where she slept?
Oh.
Do you remember coming up with a great idea for her?
I totally forgot about that.
I shared that idea with so many people, but tell us about the period and then what you ended up doing after.
Oh, okay. So this is survival. So my Hannah, she loves motion and movement. And we were talking about it the other night, so funny, because we said how we wish we would have got it on recording, where the crib was just too small for her. And you think a crib too small for a baby, it was too small for Hannah. And we remember vividly the sound of the slats being smacked on because Hannah would just roll into them. Oh. So we had her on a floor mattress. And as she got older, she would roll off that floor mattress, and that's a hard thing to cope with that night, right? So we got a really big pack and play, one of those extra large ones. We cut the floor mattress to be that size. I only had to cut off 4 inches off the length. We fit it in perfectly, and she was such a happy camper in her oversized, full-size sleep arrangement. And so, yes, is that the one?
Yeah. I feel good people because not all like babies are going to be okay on a floor mattress, right? Like especially spirited babies who like to get into trouble or who just won't stay in bed, right? And so I loved that idea. And just a side note, it was memory foam, right?
Yeah, it was a memory foam. It was at that time it was a folding. I can send you the link. It was a memory foam mattress, and
Awesome.
And the playpen was like a soft mesh, so I didn't have to worry if she went up to the side of it because it was a mesh. And she did great with it. And that was a game changer too, because I could also use a lot of your techniques with keeping her feeling safe and reinforcing that in her room, in that big bed.
And you could also be there for her when she seemed to need it, which I know a lot of people are like against co-sleeping, but I'm a supporter if it's done safely, because I know this has been practiced all over the world for ages. And in some situations, you have to get sleep. And I know there's people cringing when they hear that because it can be scary and nerve-wracking. But this is a parent's call, okay? In Amanda's case, we wanted just to have that boundary of keeping her in her own room, right? And so being there for her. The other reason I'm not against it is because of the way little children can absolutely crave that contact and thrive from it. So that's one of those things where you trust your gut.
I 100% agree with you. And I have to say, when Hannah was first born, I was on the other side of the fence where I really, I did not understand co-sleeping. And I was like, no way, why would somebody, I just didn't understand why. I didn't understand any of it. By 3 months old, because Hannah she wouldn't go to sleep anytime I put her down. And I was like, well, I have to get sleep. So it was the first time I took her out to the knowing that we are there with her. And you're right, that setup allowed me to still go in at night with her. And to this day, I will probably go into her room. She calls for me around 4:30. And she wants mama. So I've tried to like wean her away a little bit. And over time, it has worked. And there are nights that she wants me there all night. And I appreciate that, because she knows that she needs me, and that contact makes her feel better. And at this age, I cherish that she is able to communicate with us that, please, mama, I want to be near you for whatever reason. I may not know the reason, but she does, and she knows what she needs, and if she needs us, then I am very thankful and feel honored for the ability to be there for her.
Thank you. That's beautifully said. Well, there's so much that we can talk about. I am just thinking, why don't you share some of the hardest things for you when it came to like mom pressure when she's a baby and even as a toddler?
Outside pressures?
Yeah. And your own if you put pressure on yourself as well, those go hand in hand.
Well, we can do the first pressures, and I was thinking about it. I think I think and this is something that you helped me, you helped me understand, because I remember one day she was like 8 or 9 months old, and we had gone through a good high, and then we had dipped back down, and I wasn't too aware of the mental leaps, and I think she was going through one. And you knew right away what was going on, and you encouraged me to be with her. And it was the encouragement I needed that night. It was like 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and you sent me a text, and you're like, she needs you. It's okay. And it was almost like you gave me the permission that it was okay to tend to her. Because I think at times you feel like, I shouldn't have to do this. I shouldn't have to do all these things to get her to sleep or to get her to do whatever it might be. And I think as an adult, especially first time mom, I was used to doing things a certain way. I was raised a certain way. And I think in the back of my mind, I had this feeling of, I shouldn't have to. And I think that was my own worst enemy at times. And it prevented me from being extra giving and extra nurturing. Because it's like, at what point do you stop? Or at what point do you give? And once I put that to the side of, I shouldn't have to, and instead replaced it with, this is what she needs. And this is for her heart and her mind and her growth and development, that was a huge game changer. So you taught me the patience and gave both me and my husband the permission that it was okay to be gentle and to be with her, to help her to sleep. Because there's so many outside pressures and upbringings that we had deep within us that made it not okay of what we were doing. Somebody very close to us within 2 weeks said, let her cry it out. Not even 2 weeks old, let her cry it out. I'm like, and I remember him saying this, and I'm like, no, if she's hungry or she doesn't want that cry, I can't let her cry it out.
That's so
it's
sad.
I know, in little things, like if I try and be nurturing. Another time someone said, she doesn't want to be held by you, not even 2 months old. And I'm like, doesn't want to be held by me. And I thought that they were serious because she was rubbing her eyes on my shoulder, almost like pushing me like this and fussing. I didn't know that it was a sleep cue. And you expect your elders to help you and to give you like the good knowledge that you need, because I may have been 34 or 35, however old I was at the time, but it was my first time with an infant. It was my first time with a baby. I had no idea. And so those things to try and like, I don't know why they're said, those things to like put doubt in you, those are some huge challenges for me that you put so much, because of course you want to respect your elders and you want to put trust in them, but sometimes it causes doubts. But that, now looking back, gave me the lesson learned of just trust in what you know. And if you have those instincts, and that was another thing that you really helped me to rely on too. And my husband, just, you guys know your daughter. And some of the hardest moments, when I would send you those texts and you would send me a text back and saying, it's okay. And this is, you're on the right track. You're doing what you need to do. It was such a relief to have that permission to do what we needed to do. So very, very grateful for you and your advice. It helped us tremendously. It got us through some tough moments.
I love it. Thank you. And just by the way, we didn't plan this conversation. I didn't ask Amanda to be so nice to me, but thank you for all the kind credit, kind words you're saying. And I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about how this all came from my heart. Like, I didn't read a study that said, it's most important for moms to listen to their instincts and their intuition and block things out. And like, I knew way before there was studies that it was important for us to meet their needs and teach them security because of my heart and knowing children. And I think we all know that, but it's just all those voices and all of that confusion that makes us lose our way. And when you're in the thick of it and you're exhausted and you're desperate and you're worried about the future and all these things, it's really hard to see straight. So I'm glad that I was able to be there for you.
Oh, thank you so much. You brought light into our path and helped guide us through that thick forest. And we really, really appreciate everything that you have done for us and guided us through. Even to this day, Julian will say, well, what does Meredith say? Have you asked Meredith? And so
I remember that. I forgot that was him. I think he and another dad would be like, oh, well, what sleep flex should we get? Go ask Meredith.
Exactly.
Go ask Meredith. I'm like, okay, well, share. Yes. It's so cute.
I love it. I'll go ask Meredith right now.
And since we're friends, I could text her anytime.
Thank you so much.
Oh, but she did it for me too. So what are some of the lessons that you've learned in being Hannah's mama? And, maybe we should talk a little bit more about what's challenging about having a spirited and sensitive child. Just talk more about it, because I think we've talked about it a little bit.
I think for me, one of the challenges is, hi baby, right here. One of the challenges I think is it's trying to say it in a positive way. There's a lot of reinforcement when I think your child is so there's a lot more reinforcement, I believe, that's involved. There's a lot more redoing, and there's a lot more patience that's needed. And patience is easy to give when you're feeling good. And patience is a little harder to give when maybe you're not feeling so rested and with a clear mind. And I think for me, that's one thing that I try very hard is to always stay patient with her. And I know, especially since I've been pregnant, I notice my patience has not always been where it should be, but I think that continuation of patience and just giving that love is probably sometimes my challenge, to make sure that I'm meeting her needs always in a positive light, because yes, she may need a little more attention at times. I don't want it to be like a forced attention that she ever feels like, like it's hard for me. I want her to feel like this attention because it's what I want to give her, and I want her to feel that want from me. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Like you're just trying to be genuine and sincere. And I think that you have to pull it from deep inside you sometimes. But I also feel like God gave her the perfect mama. And I don't mean perfect in like never making mistakes. I just mean your heart and who you are is so perfect for her. I've been impressed by you the entire time I've known you. I promise.
Well, thank you. That means very, very much. And just living by God's grace and hopefully trying to get something right. But I think what it's also taught me is to really focus on her strengths, because if this may be seen as a weakness, like the sleep schedule, the sensitivity, the things that spark her, right? But if I just see it as weaknesses, I think that gets a little frustrating at times. And that probably is also another challenge, is it can be frustrating. And that's what I don't want her to see. But if I focus on it as her strengths, and if we flip the coin and we look at it as she wants to be with us. How awesome is that? Your child wants to be with her parents. That is so great. It's a feeling that, yes, she's 2 now, and it started from the moment she was born. But if that's a feeling that we can nurture through childhood, teenage years, and adulthood, yes, it's more work, but how precious is that? So I think it's helped me to learn to focus on her strengths and to see it in a positive manner. And that's what my husband and I have just focused on too. It'll be 9-10 o'clock sometimes and we're exhausted, but we're like, well, it's the end of the day, play with her for 5 more minutes and then really try and put her down, because she wanted that extra attention from us. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, of course. It did. I just love it. I love your approach, and I love you're able to think and see clearly in difficult times. I'm sure that's been a learning process.
It's a huge learning process, and especially it's a lot of undoing how you're wired sometimes and redoing, knowing that this is a good way and this wire works for your child. And I think that was might be backtracking a little bit, but something else to really learn from this, in that trust of what you know, is it's like what you were saying, you have that mama intuition, and you know what works for your littles. And to be, forced by society's views and different things, as opposed to doing what's good for your little. That's something I've really learned and have cherished in this walk as well, because you helped us, give us that permission, and so that we could really nurture Hannah, so that we could tend to her needs. I think we were talking about the other day, sleep is half a day for a little one, right? Hannah on a good day is 12 hours a day. I know other littles get like 14 to 16 hours of sleep a day. So that means that half of my day is dedicated to helping her feel comfortable enough to sleep, because a lot of littles can go to sleep by themselves and stay asleep by themselves. But Hannah, my purpose half a day is to make sure she is sleeping and staying asleep, and not just stay asleep, but that she's comfortable to sleep and she's in the right environment to sleep, and everything that goes with it. And I lost my train of thought, but just that you gave us those, the tools and the permission to do what's right for her. As she's getting older now, it shows in her actions. It shows when we go outside the home, when she interacts with others. She's often complimented on her behavior, on her interactions between us and with them. And it's not, I don't feel it's by chance. It's because collectively we've had these tools. You've helped us with these tools, and we've worked together to help her to this point. And for that, I'm very grateful and feel very fortunate, again, that we've met and that you've helped us in this path.
Thank you so much. I just want you to take the credit, because it's taken so much work and focus and dedication, and going back to square one or whatever it is, where you remind yourself, okay, this is what matters most. And it's taken so much effort, and you're getting to reap those rewards now. It'd be kind of fun. Are there other scenarios that you notice her progress you want to share with us? You were writing those for me the other day. Do you remember some of the scenarios that you're like, oh, she's come a long way?
Oh my goodness, leaps and bounds. So we were talking the other day about always saying.
Go ahead. Oh, I was trying to help you. The separation anxiety is when you started thinking about it.
Separation anxiety, and it's part of the tools that you've given us to reaffirm and reassure her that we're here. So something I started doing with her, I don't know when I started, but very young, because her separation anxiety started, I think, at about 10 to 12 weeks old. And I always tell her, I love you, I'll be right back. And we would play games about that. And over the course of the last 2 years, always, I love you, I'm going here. I love you, I'll be right back. When I came back, I love you so much, and I miss you. And I always tell her I miss, because I do. I miss her, and I'm happy to see her. Her separation anxiety for me, I couldn't leave the room until by 18 months, she started letting me go out for a few minutes. Now she's 2 years and 2 months, and we can leave the house. And I know it can be hard for certain toddlers too, but I imagine it would have been much harder for her if we didn't continue to work on that. And again, solidifying that foundation of love and security over this time has helped her to know it's okay, mama's coming back. I had to go to a doctor's appointment yesterday. My mom came at 7:30 in the morning, and she's like, bye, Mom. I'm like, love you. I give her a big hug. She's ready to go off to play. And she didn't cry while I was gone. She knew I would come back. So that, I lost the word. What's it when you're like continuous in something? You're
consistent.
I'm sorry?
Consistent.
Consistent. Thank you. Yes. That consistency over the last year and a half, almost 2 years, reassuring her and teaching her that we come back and it's okay, has really helped reduce that separation anxiety. And on a positive side, help her to become more independent and adventurous. And it's so sweet to see.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
When we were preparing for this, you shared something to me about wanting to, let's see, just teach Hannah she can depend on you and turn to you. And you said you had an experience when you were young, about like, I think it was how old were you? 5 with Cry It Out? Can you just share that with us real quick? And what you learned about that? What you changed too with Hannah from that experience?
So my mom did Cry It Out with my brother and I. am a twin, and my mom is awesome. She, in her time, Cry It Out was the thing, and the doctor told her to let her kids cry it out. So that's what she did. She always let us cry it out. And I remember one night I was so scared of the dark. My brother always went to sleep. I was a trouble sleeper, so I don't know where Hannah gets it from. But so one night, I remember it. I was so scared of ET, and I just knew he was there in my room, and I was hiding under the covers, and I peeked out from under the covers, and to this day I remember him, the white ET. You remember when he was in the incubator? He was there just looking at me. I hallucinated, and so. Yeah, that was pretty scary. To this day, it's very hard for me to be in the dark, especially alone in the dark. And I didn't realize it until I had Hannah, but I kind of wondered, like, do you think like some of my insecurities are from Cry It Out? As a kid, teenager, young adult, I would always make sure to find a solution before I brought a problem to my parents, because I had to rely on myself to figure things out, right? And I, looking back, wonder, is that from Cry It Out? Because I had to rely on myself to figure something out. And those sorts of insecurities that I didn't always attribute to Cry It Out, I just knew I didn't want Hannah to feel like she had to figure things out on her own, or to feel alone, especially in a scary dark room. And that's where I just didn't want to do Cry It Out, because I remember the feeling of being alone and just wanting to be near my parents. So yeah, that's a huge, I think a huge reason why I'm so against letting her cry it out, because I can't put myself to make her feel like that. And again, it's nothing against my mom if she listens to this. That's just what was taught, and I never told my mom these feelings. It's just things that I have felt, and I remember feeling as a child. And those are feelings that I know there's going to be a day where she will be alone, where she will have to figure it out on her own, and in whatever situation that is. But if it's something that I can help prepare her for and make it not so that she's forced to do it too young, I would like to be able to give her the skill sets and the foundation to feel like she can land flat on her feet and not be afraid in those scary moments, and to know that she can do this and feel strong in the moment, rather than a sense of insecurity because I'm scared. And so I guess that's why I really want her to always know that we are here for her now, because when she gets to those scary moments that are going to come, I can't protect her from the world forever, right? They're going to come. I want her to have that sense of security and that security net from within, that foundation, so that she can feel strong to make the decisions and to do whatever action she needs to do and face those scary ETs out there when the time does come.
I love it so much. Well said. No worries. I end up explaining things. You always think, oh, did that make sense? It did. Perfect sense. So you made me think of two things. One was an interview that I had with a child care expert, a parenting expert, who said that that's one of the dangers of doing Cry It Out is that we actually program ourselves to not respond. She said you create neural pathways that will actually become a habit during the day. Like there's going to be other times when you don't respond to your little one's cries or needs because you're programming yourself to shut those off at certain times. It's going to cross over and affect you in other areas of parenting. So I thought that was really, really interesting. But you also reminded me of my daughter, Julia. I'm listening to you talk about what you hope for her. And this might make me emotional because I've got this daughter who just went off to college and we're so proud of her. But we miss her so much. But this little one, I forgot until she was graduating. We were putting together like albums and like she was doing poster boards and I shouldn't say albums. It was more than we were doing like a slideshow. But my husband put this together and he was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that Julia was always in your arms or standing behind one of us, hiding behind our legs. Like you'd see her little face poke out between our legs or on the side of our legs. And she always had her little thumb in her mouth. And she just was quiet and watching and just so chill. And we were her security blanket. Well, in the last couple of years, this girl is like the most outgoing. She's a leader. You know, we went to this prom with her as a church one in April or May, and she was every single line dance. She was out in front leading.
Oh,
And like taking her to college, she was like, I'm ready, which helped me not be emotional. I was actually strong the whole day. I think I broke into tears like twice for like 5 seconds. I was so proud of myself because she was ready and she was confident and she was excited and she was going to do this thing. And she was doing something hard, chemical engineering, where there's very few girls. She knew that going into it. And it's such a hard major. Crazy girl. But like, I love remembering back to when she was little and we gave her the space and the time to just be ready for things when she was ready for things, not force her. I feel like having her home with me and her doing preschool, you know, at like 4 and not earlier, I think that helped her. It was right for her. But like this little one, thank you. This
Mom.
Absolutely blossomed from the love and support and security and happy brain that she had. And so I just want to share that with you to give you comfort in what you're hoping for.
I love it.
You're doing the right things. So Amanda, before we go, is there anything else you'd like to share about raising Hannah and things you're grateful for, you've learned, or that you want to pass on to other moms?
I don't know if I've already said it, but I would love to encourage other moms that are in the thick of it. And I know in a few months I will probably be back in the thick of it again. To remember to trust in how they feel, because what they feel is not wrong, and they know their littles best. They're going to get a lot of advice, and some of it's good. The advice that's not good it's good to just put in file 86, right? And or what is that, file 68, into the trash can. And to know that all their hard work is going to pay off. I see it at 2. You see it now with your daughter at, how old is she, 18?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And just to see how this hard work and dedication and attention really does pay off. I love the story that you just said. It's true, and way to go for her. She's doing great. I sometimes, and I think one of the things that I lightly mentioned it, but I didn't know that littles could have such a hard time to sleep. And it's not I think we look at it as a bad thing. Like, oh, my child's a good sleeper or a bad sleeper. I never say she's a bad sleeper. I say she likes to stay awake, but she's not a bad sleeper. It's just helping some kids need that extra TLC to go to sleep. And even though that extra TLC is sometimes hard to give, to be steadfast and go with it, because it's so going to pay off. I see it here with Hannah, and I know you see it with so many littles that come across your way. And so that would be my encouragement, to keep going forward. Don't get discouraged, and to call you when they do, because you will give them that reassurance and permission that they need to make it through that night. And your Facebook group is amazing as well. Have a lot of positive supporting mamas in there as well, who have walked the walk and are now also helping other mamas in the walk to keep forward. So, yeah.
Thank you. It's sad to stop talking, because I think we could just listen and discuss this for hours. So I hope that my listeners have enjoyed it and were inspired the way I hoped. I expect that the answer is yes. Thank you for being here, Amanda. Thanks for letting us watch the top of little Hannah's head wander around, listen to her thumping cuteness, and
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you being open and sharing. And I just want to tell my listeners, thanks for being here, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Thank you for listening to the Sweet Slumber Podcast, the good, the bad, and the sleep deprived. Ready to understand your child better? Then take the Sleep Temperament quiz. Reveal your child's sleep nature and unlock the solutions to your exhaustion in just 5 minutes.